I practice securities law in the capital markets and M&A group at McMillan in Toronto. I practice this kind of law because I find it very exciting. I absolutely love the adrenaline rush that comes on working on a transaction and the late hours and the interesting work. I used to always want to be a litigator when I was growing up, but when I completed my articles, I decided that securities law was exactly where I wanted to be. I think my clients really appreciate the fact that I have a lot of empathy and EQ. So even in the rush of a deal, I am really sensitive to how the client feels, and that is pretty meaningful to the client. I do believe there's a large change happening in the legal industry, and as we move away from the focus on the billable hour, I think internal counsel who are more and more sophisticated are looking at their external advisors to give them a lot of value. I think part of that is providing comprehensive advice and working well with other advisors. And I know that sometimes can be tricky for lawyers, but I think that's kind of the state that we're moving into, where we all have to work together to provide seamless, comprehensive advice to a client. I get really excited by the practice of law, and I find that every year I'm still very excited by it. I am challenged every day with fitting transactions into the regulatory framework in the capital markets industry in which I work. I recently published a long white paper with two of the partners in my office, and we had a lot of fun doing research weekends and nights and finding little things in the legislative history that took us to the great library. I think practicing law is a wonderfully meaningful experience. So every Sunday, I volunteer for the Feed the Hungry program that the Law Society of Ontario puts out. And it's a wonderful way to interact with the community because it invites everyone from any walk of life to come and have a late breakfast. And that to me is very meaningful. I also volunteer with the Yonge Street Mission, and I do that on special occasions and on various weekends. But what I actually find most meaningful in my practice and related to my practice is mentoring young lawyers on their path to either partnership at a firm, another role at a firm, or finding the right in-house job, or figuring out if practicing law is actually right for them.